Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond BMR, and I am your host, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Joining me in Studio B from a 2-week hiatus from being sick, from speaking at all these conferences, the amazing Tex. Of course, he hails from Texas. We have a great show for you tonight. Tiffany will join us from Paranormal Odyssey. Her counterpart, Wayne, may join us, may not join us, but that's okay. Because Tiffany has got a lot to say this evening. Thanks for coming on in. Beyond BMR goes beyond the mysteries of the world. We take you down a deep dive into all the rabbit holes that we've all experienced, or not. From Bigfoot to Dogman, UFOs to aliens, from time travel to the paranormal. How do these strange phenomena all come together? That's what we discuss. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, and please subscribe to Texas Front Porch, also found on YouTube. You can find us on Subspace Radio, iHeartRadio, KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Selene for that. The Super Chat is open. The Super Chat is a great way to help support what we do around here. Your contribution, of course, is always appreciated. However, sharing us out, subscribing, and telling everybody to come on over and check out our channels is what we want the most out of you. So thank you. Also, go to our About pages. You can find all of our links. You can find out our schedules, what we've got going on throughout the week. And with that being said, I'll let you know what we got going on throughout the week. As many of you know, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, 9 o'clock in the East, and the lovely Brandy, Monday nights at 9, Tuesdays of Van Buren Variety. You find Bobby at 8 o'clock in the East on YouTube, his YouTube channel, Van Buren Variety. Of course, 9 o'clock in the East, you got me, Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Beyond BMR. Wednesdays, Jason McLean is back at it, doing his live show. Jason McLean Questions Everything. You can check him out Wednesdays, 8 o'clock in the East. Danielle Diva, the Diva Dimension, found on Texas Front Porch. Check out the Diva at 10 in the East. Thursdays, 1 in the afternoon, myself and Krista, brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Come on, check us out. Spend your afternoon with us. Later at night, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, they come on at 9 o'clock in East. Thursdays, if you need a little more woo mixed in with the booze, you also have the lovely Krista and Brandy on Fridays at 9 in the East. Saturday, that's right, Saturday, 3 in the East, Tex, Miss Diva, True Crime, Infamous Minds. If you're into true crime, that is a can't miss show. Saturdays, 3 in the East. You can also find that on Texas Front Porch. My lovely friend Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, 10 in the East, Saturday and Sunday. She is the Cryptid Huntress. You can also find the Cryptid Huntress on her YouTube channel twice during the week. And speaking of the Cryptid Huntress, y'all know my video, my part 1 and 2 of Dogman Island. You can also find Dogman Island in my book, which, as you all know, is Bigfoot Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters. You can find that on Amazon. The link is in the description of this, and it's also on my YouTube page. Check it out. It's doing pretty good, I guess. I don't know. Great artwork by Jason McLean. Shout out to Jason. Did a little editing with me on that and helped me download it. Hats off to Jason on a fine job with that. I do appreciate that very much. So we're going to get on with it. Oh, speaking of Jessica Jones, that's what I'm saying. JJ, this Thursday on Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Yeah. Dogman Island. She's did the remote view on Dogman Island. So the all exclusive this Thursday at 1 o'clock, Dogman Island. Live, 1 o'clock Thursday. With that being said, I'm bringing up my buddy from Tex. And he goes by the name of Tex. You're muted, Tex, by the way. And I know it's been a little while for your text since you've
Well,
been.
and that's I'm rusty, dude. I'm rusty.
I
That's
know.
what it
Well, I
is.
know it's been a while. I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks, and you've got all this stuff going on. You're a major speaker now. You're all over the world, or all over the United States, talking about
Yeah,
dogman
yeah,
cryptids.
yeah. That's me, all right.
I mean, and you've got some other things brewing, which of course we keeping under wraps. So you're just a busy
We
guy,
do.
and of course, you kind of lost your voice. You kind of got a little under the weather when you're on your last engagement, but you got pink back in your skin from what I can see because you normally can't see with your hat and you look good. You're looking good. Eyes are a little shutting or shut down. But
Well,
yeah. So
of course, I'm doing great, and then right before we see, right before we get on air, I'm getting all snotty again. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, with any luck,
but
you don't have to do all that.
I'm done with I'm over whatever I had, and it's I feel fine. It's just I'm coughing and hacking up the remnants of whatever died in my chest. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but
Yeah, well, you're getting better. You definitely sound a lot better because you weren't sound you. I tell you, you were sounding pretty rough for last a couple times that I tuned into a Texas front porch found on YouTube.
yeah, when my voice gets gravelly, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah,
you know.
well, you
But
got
yeah,
that voice. You got that voice that's so smooth that if there's any
oh,
clink in the armor, it throws you off in your vocal cords, I should say.
well, thank you very much. Um, you know, it's and I hated it's like last week. I hated bailing on you. It's like, but man, I just couldn't do it. I texted you and then I passed out.
Yeah,
I
it was funny because I pulled up the show about a half hour ahead of time, and I seen you sitting in there, and then I'm
Yep.
like, "Oh, there's text on a little early. We can, catch up because it's like we said, it's been a while since we spoke." And I get back to the studio area, and I see you're gone, and then I get a text, "Hey, man, sorry, brother, I just can't do it." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." And then 2 minutes after that, my guest says he's going to be like 10 minutes late, so I had to go. So I had to go 20 minutes entertaining our awesome people in chat and people listening. But I got through it. I passed the flying colors, I guess. So I was told anyway. And then finally, Carlito came on and had a good show. So yeah. And
Well, I will say this. You were talking about what we got coming up and everything,
mhm,
and it is we have got some just phenomenal stuff on the horizon,
yes,
um, investigation wise, and if what we've been shown pans out, this is going to be a game changer. But that's about all as far as I can get into
yeah,
it right
that's
now.
all you can say. And I know about that. I'm of course privy to it, and I can't wait. Let's just again, let's like you said, take our time with it, see if it pans out, and
Hmm.
if it is what it is, it should be fantastic.
Yep,
And
for
and
sure.
speaking of fantastic, I was just on Paranormal Odyssey with Wayne and Tiffany, and that was a great show. Please subscribe to the Paranormal Odyssey on YouTube. And Wayne probably is not going to be able to join us. He's got to take care of his kids. However, his second mate, second in command, Tiffany's joining us, and she's got a lot of experiences with paranormal and some cryptids, from her husband. So I'm not going to waste any more time, and I'm going to bring up the lovely Tiffany.
Well, I got to tell you, man, and Tiffany, I hope your husband ain't a jealous type, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm all right with Wayne not showing up because I'm perfectly happy with you.
You guys.
Texas quite the schmoozer.
Yes, I see that.
He is happily married, but he well, we all like the girls, the ladies when they come on the show. They give that element. It seems that the ratings are always a little bit higher too when you get
Yeah, yeah, we have that
a
effect.
knowledgeable lady on.
We have that effect.
Well, the way, okay, now this is the way I was raised up. You know, a woman should be told at least daily how beautiful she is.
Aw.
Okay, and that, and I try to live up to that standard as much as I possibly can. So, yeah, my wife, it just drives my wife crazy. She goes, I got in trouble for, we was at a party one time. I got in trouble for flirting. So I shut up. I didn't say another word. And she goes, I can't believe you're still flirting. And I said, what do you mean? I haven't said a word. You flirt with your eyes. Oh, good grief. Here we go.
Yeah, I can't. There's gonna be one day, I'm sure of it, in our as we get to see more and more of each other in the future. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I want to see you and the wife together kicking it at the casino, or maybe if she decides to come to a conference, which that's probably off the table though.
It's
I like
probably never going to happen.
but perhaps the casino though, that might be, or dinner or something. We got to hook that up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm
yeah.
glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. And you know what? Me and Tex could cackle on about nothing for the entire show. So I'm going to start by saying thank you, Tiffany, for joining. And for people that maybe don't know you, of course, you are with the Paranormal Odyssey. Why don't you give us a little background about yourself?
Well, I started, let's see, and I went back just to make sure because I like to have all my dates correct.
Yes.
But I had started talking to Wayne back in the beginning of January this year. And that's when, he had asked me, he said, hey, look, Brian reached out to me because I'd been talking with Brian from Sasquatch Odyssey. And he was like, about coming on and helping us with our, live broadcast. And once you get to know me, you know I'm not always the brightest light bulb in the box, but that's okay because I keep it interesting. I keep it fun.
You're in great company here. Don't worry about
it. So in this conversation, he's actually talking about me being the producer, and I'm like thinking he's talking about me just being a mod in the chat box. And he was like, yeah, I think that we have, there's some, we're not talking about the same thing. But at the time when I was approached, I was working a full-time job Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. I had to deal with just idiotic people all day. I mean, I'm just going to call it like it is. Retail is retail, and that's what you get. So I didn't really, I wasn't sure how my audio would sound. And then dealing with all those, it was awful. So I didn't really think I could put 110% into it. Mm-hmm. So fast forward to May of this year, I'd actually quit my job because writing is what my passion is. So, my husband had been on me to leave my job, and I was unhappy. So that's what I did. And so I've reached out and I told Brian, I told Wayne, hey, I finally quit my toxic job. And the day after, Wayne had approached me about writing The Unfamiliars. So if you haven't heard it, it's on Paranormal Odyssey podcast, the whole thing. And so I also had written Dogman Terror in the Woods for Brian on Sasquatch Odyssey. And these were really just intended to be episodes. But when Doug Hatchek and Alex actually picked them up. So I will be having those 2 books published by Hanger One Publishing. They'll probably come out next year.
Oh, that is freaking awesome.
That's awesome.
I am over the moon. And now before that, and this is just a totally different genre than what I normally write in. I started out as a romance author. So my first romance book came out in April of this year, and the sequel will come out November 4th. So it was really, I did a lot of research. So the majority of the books, they are fictional. However, not all of it is fictional because I did a lot of digging. So,
and before we get even further than that, fiction's fiction. I get it. But what's fact and what's fiction? There's a friend of ours that comes on a show once every 3 months that this all starts from somewhere, right?
Right.
Stories, folklore. There's some truth behind a lot of these things, and but you know what? There's a market and there's a niche for everybody. Everybody
Exactly.
likes a story about Dogman, whether it's fictional or an actual encounter. I didn't.
Exactly.
We have an actual celebrity joining us now. Text in the making. So awesome, awesome catch.
Oh, oh, you're sweet. But no, but that's what we had talked about on one of our most recent shows is how, okay, folklore started, okay, but there's always a hint of truth in every folklore story that you hear.
Yep.
And that's one of the books that I had actually reached out to Alex and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. We could name it like of lore and legends or something like that, where it integrates the lore and the legend and the factual things that may be found within that. So I have to start that, but I'm excited to get
Yeah,
it
I'm
all out.
excited for you. No, I'm excited for you. I'm not going to talk about me. I dropped my first book last July 31st. Took me about a year and a half to write and stuff, and it's about encounter stories that I've gotten over the years, and very exhilarating when you finally get it done. I know Tex, you're working on yours, and we're all writing a book, it seems. But enough of me and Tex, Tiffany. I know you had made in backstage. I know you're really into the paranormal. We've had a lot of personal encounters, but if you want to touch base really quickly, though, because your husband came across with something in the forest that was sounds to me like it was a Sasquatch.
Yeah, absolutely. He and I, we always do the grass together. Like I, I'm weird, okay, and I like to mow the grass. So I usually mow, and he weed eats, and so I had finished my portion and went up. Now we live on a downslope. We live right in the middle of a downslope. So our yard has like tiers. And I had went up and sat in front of our house, and 10 minutes go by and he calls me. And so I expected him just to be like, hey, will you bring me some water? Sure. But he was now he's in medicine. So when you say the word serious to him, it better be damn serious, right? So he had this really serious tone in his voice, and he was like, so let me ask you a question. And he was like, do they come out in the daytime? Now, we had started mowing in the evenings just because it was so hot. So it was like, I don't know, in between 4 and 6. And he was like, do they come out in the daytime? And I was like, well, yeah, they do. You have the day watchers and, stuff like that. And I was like, why? And he said, because I think I just saw one. Now, and at this time, he was like, he wasn't completely 100% closed minded to this. Okay.
Right.
He was like an open minded skeptic. But I did not let the grass grow under me because I was so ecstatic. So I ran down, and I'm not good with measurement, but I like panned my camera out as far as I could get it to where he said he saw it. And he said that, he listens to music when he does his weed eating and stuff like that. And he had to fix the line. So he had cut off his music, and he heard something in the trees out in front of him. And when he looked up, he said, I mean, it was like a second encounter, but it gruffed at him. It went, huh, and then took off. And he said this thing moved like he had never seen anything move before. And he said it was like if you take a softball and throw it through the trees, it makes that sound. He said that's exactly what it was. And I was like, and so I reached out and I was like, hey, this just happened. And it was, but now Zach is 6'1" and he's like 280. I'm 5'4" and I'm like nothing, or I was then. And he did not finish the yard. He asked me to stay in the backyard with him and not to leave him. So for him being of his stature, asking me of my stature to not leave his side, he was freaked out. He was freaked out, 100%. So
Well, it's understandable. It is very understandable, that's for sure.
yeah. So, and we've had, like I was telling you backstage, like at this spring of this year, we heard a couple tree knocks. but we haven't really had any activity as we did in the past. So, and then we had one night, our neighbor, we had a domestic dispute next door, and it was this big, drawn out ordeal. Okay. So there were cops everywhere, and because there were gunshots fired, they brought out K9 because they were looking for the bullets. I mean, it was this big theatrical thing. So my daughter and her friend were sitting out in the driveway after they had gotten off work, and that's when she called me to alert me that there was something going on. So all of that happened, which, you know, we live at the foot of Bent Mountain. We're about 30 minutes from Floyd County. So fast forward a couple days, they're sitting in the car after all of that stuff had happened, and her friend looked up the hill from us, and he said that he saw something, you know, tall and dark, but it jumped from the top of that slope all the way to the street, which would not be, you know, crazy. However, that whole hillside above us is just trees, but it didn't hit a tree at all. It was just from the top to the bottom, and it was gone up the hill. And up the hill, I mean, we do have houses at the dead end, but it's a lot of woods up there. So, I mean, I think we got them here for sure. I mean, our house is directly across the street from a creek.
Yep.
We've had instances with rocks in our driveway that have, in my opinion, have come from that creek, because they're not like any of the rocks that we have here in our rock wall. I mean, so I just keep waiting.
Well, go ahead, Ruff.
I'll just say really quick too. Remember, Tiffany, earlier when I was on your guys' show, we talked about the commonalities about certain things, why people just aren't making these things up. And as you're telling this story with your husband on the lawnmower, I read a report of a Bigfoot encounter where a man, older gentleman, 70s, he's on his tractor, big backyard, creek running through, wood line, the whole 9 yards, and up in a tree, maybe 40 yards from where he's cutting grass, he sees a rock, a big sizable rock, come out of the tree line on his property. And of course, he says, I'm an older guy. I'm getting closer on my tractor. I had to pull up my glasses. And he's seen what appeared to him, as he's described, being like a Sasquatch, and it jumped from a tree and it rolled down the backside of the hill on two legs into the creek and was gone. Now, was that a Sasquatch? I mean, I don't know. I forget what state it was, but you know, it was certainly something. And I'm sure it wasn't a bear. They don't climb trees and throw rocks. I mean, black bear might get up a tree, but not sit there perched and launch a rock. So you never know. I'm sorry, Tex.
Well, I was just going to suggest a few things if you haven't already done it already. I wouldn't even worry about putting the camera up anywhere, because they tend to avoid them for whatever reason. Well, there's a lot of different theories out there. I'm sure you've talked to people. But one thing that you can do is put an audio recorder out and see if you can pick up anything like that, because, you know, just because you're not hearing anything doesn't mean they're not around. Hell, they may be walking up on your porch and never would know about it.
Yeah, and you know, we had talked about getting those Ring cameras just to see exactly, like, I know we have deer and, you know, stuff like that, but just to see what's out there that's really lurking. If it
well, and the problem with those kind of camera, any motion detected camera, one, most of them are what is called active IR. And what that does, it sends out an IR beam. And when it's broke, it triggers the camera. There is something called passive IR. And what that does, that actually senses IR. It doesn't project it. So any body heat triggers the camera, which not only takes away the possibility of them seeing the IR, but it also gets away from it triggering when a leaf moves or whatever like that. It triggers off of the heat. So you may look into that if you're going to go the camera route. Personally, I'd go with just the audio for a while and see if you can pick up anything. That'll tell you if anything's creeping around.
Oh yeah.
And then you can take that next step. But if you have any problems with them, if they get kind of waspy and brazen and they want to start banging on the side of the house or chunking stuff at your house or coming around messing with the dogs, cats, whatever, or even if you feel you don't feel comfortable, with them being around, you can you can put some cameras out that are active IR and they will avoid that like the plague, so most of the time.
Right.
And if they don't, one or two things are going to happen. You're either going to catch some great images or you're going to have your cameras disappear and be ripped off of trees. So
yeah, and I've heard that happen, because people will have all this Bigfoot activity, and everybody's like, well, if you wanted to stop, just put a camera up, and then like lights around the whole entire property, and it's so funny because I actually wrote that scene into Dogman Terror in the Woods because they were just being harassed, and so you put up all the cameras and then lit up the whole property, and so yeah, but it's definitely something because after he had his encounter, I'm on the neighborhood app. So like anything that happens in our neighborhood, you know how it goes. They are going to put it up there, good, bad, or ugly. And every single one around us were putting on there that they had dead squirrels in their yard. Like it wasn't gross or missing any body parts. It was just dead. And it happened after that. Yeah, it was crazy. It just kind of solidified for me. Nobody knows a whole bunch of anything about these, whatever you want to call them, the Sasquatches, creatures, beings, whatever. But it just kind of solidified for me that they were here.
Yeah, I affectionately call them critters.
Yeah, Tex. Yeah, everything's a critter for Tex, which actually, you know what? That's one of the few words that you can get by using where you don't offend somebody. Like if Tiffany, if you noticed earlier today, I used 5 different descriptions of what a Bigfoot is, right? You have so many different sides to it. But let me ask you, how does it feel now, knowing I know you're into weirdness and we'll get into some more weird stuff. How does it feel
Don't get personal.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm an open book. I will share.
Yeah, of course. That's what we love. We love open books on the show for sure. But how does it feel though now that you might have something? Now you get back and you think like years ago, Bigfoot. Oh, right, there's Bigfoot in my backyard or a mile from my house or whatever. How is it? What do you process? What do you think about this now that you might have something, an alleged Bigfoot lurking about in your neighborhood?
Well, my dad is the one who got me into Bigfoot and UFO when I was 12. Okay. And then my favorite movie, I haven't ever seen In Search of, but my favorite movie of all times is Harry and the Hendersons. So I was kind of like hoping that I would have an encounter and I would be able to bring Harry home. Now I know everybody's probably watching this going, that girl is crazy, right? But it's just because I haven't experienced it yet. So I'm hungry for that encounter. Now after it happens, I probably won't be hungry for it anymore. But you go one of two ways. You see a Bigfoot and you're either like all in it to win it after you see it, or you're like, get the hell away from me. Don't come at me. So
I think I can agree with that. You too, Tex?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, and I've talked to so many people on both sides of that fence. The late great Kerry Arnold, he swore he'd never go back in the woods after his encounter.
Right,
and that in fact, when me and Kerry first met, he was still in that mindset. you know.
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, look, you know, you got to take baby steps, you know. And he said, man, I've tried, you know. I said, well, you'll get there, you know, if you keep pushing it, you'll eventually get there. A lot of people have a problem with I think a lot of it goes back to the uncanny valley.
Mhm.
You know, we're scared of stuff that looks human, but it's not.
Right.
And it's natural. But once I think with me, when I realized that I've been camping, hunting, and everything all my life since I was 12 by myself,
Mhm.
and these things ain't snatched me up and ate me yet. Why is it going to change just because I'm aware that they're out there now?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, you know, there's so many people in just this short amount of time that I've done this with Wayne. They have these really close encounters with, you know, dog man. Holy cow. And I mean, dog man could have easily snatched them up. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have Bigfoot that could have easily snatched them up, but they didn't. So it's like, okay, well, what was their motive then? Were you just there to scare me? You know, are you feeding off of, you know, the energy that I'm putting off because you scare me? You know, but right now, because I haven't had that encounter, and I was telling you before the show, I'm like so envious because my husband did.
Right.
And then I get, you know, and then I experience paranormal stuff, which I'm not a fan. Why I don't understand why it couldn't have been the opposite. It would have been so much easier.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. You know, you wrote the book on the dog. What was the name of the Dogman book again? I'm sorry.
It's Dogman Terror in the Woods.
Dogman Tear in the Woods. Now that right there, and again, I'm sure you did research on that and spoke with people. So I'm sure, even though you say that's fiction, I guarantee there's elements of fact in the book from what you researched. But
Yes.
really, after writing the book, right there, the title is terrifying. Do you really think it's more terrifying to have a paranormal experience, which we haven't heard yours yet, versus a
Right.
dogman? Because I don't think I'd want Texas seeing two dogmen, but you know, I'm not so sure I'd want to see one. Yes, what do I want to? Yeah. But it's, you know, if I don't, I don't.
Far away. I would not. I would not want to see one because every encounter that I listened to on podcasts, everything that I had researched on the internet, these things are like demonic. There's just, and people will say, well, I'd rather have an encounter with a Bigfoot than I would a dog man. Well, do you blame them? I mean, you have dog man, which are 7 to 8 feet tall in comparison to Bigfoot. Okay, but look at the way they look. Like how many species there are of this dog man. No, I don't want any part of it. I could
You know,
easily
and
write a book, but then shut it and be okay.
I've had this discussion, argument, well, however you want to look at it, with a lot of people. Dogman's evil, they're demonic. If they were, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
Right.
Because the encounter I had was both encounters I had were up close and personal. And evidently from after I started going back and thinking about stuff that had taken place before the encounter, he had been in the area for at least a year before that. So there again, if he was evil or demonic, why didn't he do something to me when he had every opportunity there was?
Right.
You know, I don't think they're evil, like just waiting behind every tree to snatch you up and eat you. If that was the case, there's a lot of people that wouldn't be able to have, tell their encounter.
Right.
But that being said, I do think there's a difference between the physical creature that's out there and then these other phenomena that we're running into.
Yeah.
So and that's a whole different kettle of fish, you know.
Yeah,
So
this
a horse of different color, as you would say, you know. So
Mhm.
I love the Wizard of Oz. But it's almost like an onion, you know. There's so
Mhm.
many layers, and a lot of them will burn your eyes. It's just one of those things. But there's so many depths to it, and it's
Mhm.
depths to each cryptid that you know
Oh yeah.
Bigfoot, and you know there's just I mean rabbit holes full of stuff. It's all very intriguing.
It is. And Danny made a good point in
Yeah.
chat. So the people that get snatched up, you never hear their story, you know,
Yeah.
and that's true. I'm not
Well,
saying it doesn't happen.
it's just
Yeah.
not often. But I was thinking about the missing 411 too. Um, you know, that you have these people who go out into, you know, these national parks,
Hmm.
and I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They just disappear like they were never there. And then
Oh yeah.
I heard two cases, and I can't even remember where I saw it. I either read it or I watched it on something. Um, these two women had went missing, separate cases, of course, but they were found in the same fashion. Like their clothes
Right.
were thrown all over the place, and then their bodies were found, you know, a little ways away from them.
Hmm.
And then
Right.
you have cases of the 411 who they're missing, but their clothes are neatly folded,
Yep.
Hmm.
and it's like it's just one of those layers to the onion, and you're just like I don't even know where to put that in.
Well,
None of it.
I don't think we can lay one phenomenon, whatever it is, to blame for the entirety of the missing 411 cases.
Right.
Right. I think
Uh,
yeah, I don't think it's all Dogman or all Bigfoot or
uh,
you know, I mean you can't answer a question with a question, you know.
right. Um,
Well,
it's
I'm just typing.
well, I think the phenomenon of the missing 411 runs the gambit from everywhere from yes, there are cryptids involved. Yes, there are natural animals involved. I'm even convinced that at some point the paranormal is involved.
Hmm.
But I also think that some of it is just weird happenstance to people.
And
Right.
also, it could be the biggest predator of all, right? The human.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think serial killers do play a part. Like
Yeah.
I said, I don't think we can blame it on one thing. It's a conglomerate of a combination of things.
It's the whole gamut.
Hmm.
And I think it's sad. I think it's sad because you have these stories and you have these encounters, whether it be cryptid, paranormal, or you know, human, and it just deters people from wanting to go out into the woods and
Yeah.
enjoy nature. And it's just it's heartbreaking.
Thank you for saying that because that's exactly how I've described it in the past a lot. That it breaks my heart but I understand it because after when I had my encounter with the dog man, werewolf, whatever you want to call it, when I was 16, it set me back on my heels for damn near a year.
Hmm.
I didn't want to go out anywhere, and eventually, it's just me being stupid and ornery, but I decided I wasn't going to put up with it no more, and I was going to start doing it again. And I took baby steps, and I got back out there, and of course, several months after I got back into the swing of things, what happened? Well, I get bluff charged,
Hmm.
but that's another thing too. People talk about these aggressive encounters, and I think that's I think that's mislabeling encounters
Right.
because the a lot of these encounters where you get bluff charged, where you get stuff thrown at you, but you don't get hit, that type of thing. A lot of people will call that an aggressive encounter, but I don't see it that way.
Right.
These creatures are smart. They're trying to if you're in their living room, which you have to remember, folks, that's where you're at.
Yep.
Anytime you walk into the woods and stuff, you're in their house.
And they know you're there.
And you were not invited. So, if I'm having family over, I don't want some stranger on the street walking up in my living room. So
we're just gonna throw rocks at you. Hey, get out of here. We're busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Tex gets home from work, and I make a surprise visit. I'm laying on his couch with my feet up. Went through his refrigerator, drinking his whiskey.
Yeah.
He comes in from a long, hard day and sees my ass in there. I think he'd have mixed emotions, but then he'd be happy to see me. I know that. So
ultimately, in the end, you're all right.
But I think a lot of these encounters are these creatures trying to keep the encounter from escalating even further.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't realize, we talk about the misidentification in a lot of these cases. Well, it goes both ways. A lot of people, one of the favorite things for people to say is, oh, well, it was actually a bear. They thought it was a Bigfoot. Well, you know what? That goes the other way too.
Yes.
And if somebody puts a load of, rock salt or bird shot in what they thought was a bear's ass, and it turns out to be a Bigfoot's ass, well, can you blame for being PO'd when you walk into their living room? Yeah, I would be. It's my house. Why are you shooting at me?
Exactly. Like, I live here, bro. Like, no.
Yeah.
And hell, Tex, even just shooting at the bear, he's gonna be PO. You're still in his house, whether it's a Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying? It's
exactly.
It's like people who go swimming in the shark, and then they get, or they go swimming in the shark. They go swimming in the ocean, and then they
end up swimming in the shark. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is their habitat. This is their home. You have to expect this when you go in the ocean. There's sharks.
Yeah, they're not just because they eat you doesn't mean they're doing anything bad. They're doing what they do.
Yeah, it's instinctual.
They swim, they eat, they make baby sharks.
Yes.
One of my favorite all-time movies.
I know, mine too. I had a bunch of lines on that. In fact, I just saw it again yesterday on Netflix, commercial free, so I rather enjoyed it. We're referring to Jaws.
I just watched it. I just watched it a couple weeks ago. Jaws, yeah.
Totally no. Yep. Totally.
Some people haven't seen Jaws, which I can't believe. But I don't want to go off subject. But yeah, I was like, really? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen Jaws many, many times.
Oh yeah, I'll still go.
I don't think you can watch Jaws and not watch it more, just once.
Yeah, there's just too many. There's too much going on in that movie.
It's a lot.
But you were talking about your favorite movie being Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah. Yes.
And a lot of people in the Bigfoot community hate that movie because it's they think it's a misrepresentation of Bigfoot and everything else. What you've got to understand is, now this is my own theory, I think movies like that are part of what we're seeing as soft disclosure. Because, I mean, look at if you look at the track that UFO subjects has taken over let's go from Roswell, because that's the most famous one, where they say a lot of stuff started. If you take from that point to today, we're looking at how many years?
Yeah.
We're scaring the hell of 100 years. So, and if you look at the tracks of what they did with the subject, all the movies that were made, all the and now you got the government going, oh, they do exist. No, they don't exist. No, they do exist. No, they don't exist. So they can't make up their mind. But they're not telling us anything that a lot of us didn't already know.
Right.
But throughout the years, I think what they're doing, they're desensitizing people to the possibility of this being a real thing.
I agree with you 100%.
I think you're seeing the same thing with Bigfoot.
Yes.
Because look at all the movies, look at all the evidence, look at, everything's taken tongue in cheek right now. And then here in the last several years, the stigmatism has started to die down.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it hadn't got completely there yet, but it hasn't with UFOs either.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, they don't see it, they don't believe it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And if somebody has one of these encounters and they tell them about it, well, you're either crazy or you're lying. You're not going to get rid of that completely until a hard-headed skeptic is standing there looking at a 9-foot critter and he's got piss running down his leg.
Yes.
He's not going to believe it. Okay. But I do think, getting them back on track, I do think that we're seeing the road to soft disclosure with Bigfoot also.
Right. And I think a lot of what hurts this community so bad is, they just came out, you have the CGI, and then you have the AI, and then you have hoaxers, and it's just it does a huge disservice to every single one of us who do what we do.
Oh yeah.
It just makes it so much harder.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
It's, that would even be another show you could do that on, because, you read I was just thinking that. I know Tex was thinking this some time ago. It's almost like, well, I kind of was in this camp along with Tex a long time ago. I'd almost rather see a blurry picture of an alleged cryptid, but what I like most, to me, which is more truer and you can really break down, as Tex, I think you would agree, is the audio.
Oh yeah.
You get
right
that, and it's not something you've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is. I was just listening to sounds of foxes at night.
Right.
They make 100 different sounds. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah,
and they were creepy, scary sounds. And then I found it was a fox. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So for everybody's out in the woods and researching, we really got to know. You got to know the lay of the land. You got to know the forest inside and out. A lot of these things, right?
Right. And it's like, the bobcat scream. You hear people all the time saying that Bigfoot also sound like, women screaming, bloody murder in the woods. Well, the bobcat sounds like that too. So it's really, like you said, knowing the lay of the land and knowing what is there and what is living there. And yeah.
One of my favorite things to hear is you're talking to somebody and, a skeptic, and one of the first things they want to tell you is, well, I've been hunting for 40 some odd years. I've never seen one. Well, okay. Number one, were you looking for it? And number two, you're not looking for it. You're out there looking for a deer or a pig. You're not looking for a 7 to 9 foot critter that is intelligent enough to stand under your tree stand and you never know it was there.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then, nothing that big can hide in the woods. Really.
Yeah.
I have debunked that so many times.
Mm-hmm.
So many times. And I was a tanker in the Army. I can have a 51-ton tank and stay in the trees. Don't tell me that a creature that has grown up, and their life depending on their camouflage and ambush capabilities can't hide from you in the woods.
Exactly. Now,
when you can take somebody wearing bright neon colors and take 3 steps into the trees and they're gone.
And
so that argument is null and void.
Right. And let me ask y'all this, and I'm still going to be the interviewee and try not to be the interviewer. But what do y'all feel about the cave systems? Do you feel that they also use the caves to
I'll interject. We got 3 minutes to break. I'll interject really quick. I think that cryptids do roam the cave systems. I think Bigfoot included, Dogman, any of these things. And there's cryptids out there that we're probably not aware of. So yes, the cave systems, these water lines, waterways and passages, brooks, streams, canals, and also the power lines in the middle of the mountains, right? They travel all these things. That's my quick take. Tex?
I think I think it's pretty obvious that they use the cave systems.
Mhm.
Now, Anila brought up a great point. How do they see in the caves? We can address that, and there's several theories out there about that.
Mhm.
But I don't think they use the cave systems to necessarily move through the country.
Mhm.
I think they use them for shelter, and then they either move on or whatever. I think they're very nomadic.
Right.
I don't think they migrate across the country. I think they have a territory much like a mountain lion that they move through the year.
Gotcha.
That's been my experience. And in certain areas, they tend to stick around and their territory is smaller. And that's why we have these active areas, because they have no reason to move on, because the food source is good.
Right.
There's fresh, yada, yada, yada. There's high ground they can get to relatively easy if they need to. So,
Yep.
But it's like they said in the another one of my favorite movies, Legend of Boggy Creek.
Mhm.
He travels the creeks. They always travel the creeks.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I will
Waterways
agree
are
with that.
highways for these things.
Yeah.
And they're no different than humans or any other animal out there. They stick close to water. That is the commonality that you have to see with all of these creatures.
Yeah. You're right. It is like I say, it is nature's highway. And with
Mhm.
that being said, we've already got 52 minutes in. And I know, Tiffany, you got some really crazy, creepy paranormal stuff, or maybe not so much crazy and creepy, but you've got some
Great.
paranormal adventures I like to talk about, considering. See how quick it goes by? We got a
No, so
5-minute break. Thank you. This is Tiffany from Odyssey, Paranormal Odyssey. Please subscribe on YouTube. We will be back in 5 minutes. Thanks.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show, Beyond BMR, with my buddy Tex, and we've got a great guest. Tiffany from Paranormal Odyssey is joining us this evening. Fantastic show. Thank you ever so much, and thanks for everybody for coming on and spending your evening with us. Don't forget, Mondays is Texas Front Porch at 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesday, Van Buren Variety. He comes on at 8 o'clock in the East. Please subscribe to Bobby. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East, Tuesday nights. Wednesdays, Jason McLean questions everything, 8 o'clock in the East, him and Donnie Cho. Wednesday nights, 10 o'clock in the East on Texas Front Porch. The Diva Dimension with Danielle Diva. Go check out Miss Diva, 10 o'clock Wednesday night. Thursday, brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. My special guest Thursday, we're doing the deep dive, the remote view of Dogman Island with Jessica Jones. Check that out. It's going to be a treat for you. Later on that evening, the Blondes, the Booze Paranormal Podcast, 9 o'clock in the East. Friday, more Woo with the Booze, the Blondes and the Booze and the Woo. Friday, 9 in the East. Saturday, Tex is back on the porch with Miss Diva. Infamous Minds, it's true crime. It's fabulous. Go check out Tex and Miss Diva, 3 o'clock on Saturdays. And of course, Jessica Jones is on Spaced Out Radio, 10 o'clock in the East, Saturday and Sunday. She is the Cryptid Huntress. Check her out. Also, I would like to thank everybody that's bought my book, Bigfoot Mission Represents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. It's available on Amazon. The link is in the description of this show. Thank you for that. Also, a great way to help support what we do around here is the super chat is open. Thank you for that. For those that care to partake, it is greatly appreciated. Fantastic show, and I'm going to get right back into it and bring up Tex and Tiffany. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
You know, we were just finishing up that last segment with some pretty cool stuff. You know, we're talking about these waterways, which I do believe a lot of cryptids maybe not migrate, but yes, they come and go as they will. I think they live there. I think maybe they bring some of their kill back there. But again, where there's water, where there's power lines, where's of course the forest, you know, you're going to find yourself some cryptids. You're going to find yourself some cryptids. And so, yeah, I thought that was a great segment. So, Tiffany.
Yes.
We've heard a little bit about some your thoughts, theories, and experience with Sasquatch, Bigfoot, if you will. What do you got going on in your life when it comes to the paranormal?
Well, I don't want to say that because I don't want to jinx myself. I was going to say, what don't I have going on? And I am thankful that I don't have a lot of this other stuff that people do have going on. I would say, and it all lined up almost simultaneously with my husband's encounter. We started having just some really weird stuff going on here. He and our youngest daughter would hear voices in the back, in our backyard. Our property in the back is fenced in. And they said it sounded like a voice saying, "Help me, help me." And so we had already instructed her, even if you hear this, and she had actually heard it out in the front yard one time, and it sounded like our middle daughter saying, "Help me." And we're like, even if you hear that, never go outside, because it is not what you think it is. And if somebody comes banging on your door, you call 911. And don't go out there and take it upon yourself to research this stuff, because you will not come back. So they had that they were hearing. Actually, the day that we were going on to Sasquatch Odyssey's podcast, we were all out in our sunroom, and I have a little shelf on the wall out there. It's just a corner shelf, and I'm a really big beach fanatic, so I had seashells hanging from it, a small little boat oar sitting on it, and it itself is on a ledge. So the three of us are looking out of the window. We're not near this shelf, okay? And so we're talking about this big white bird that we had seen. And she's like, "Mom, Dad, I saw the big white bird, and this is why we go out there." But the shelf comes flying off of the wall, and everything falls in the floor. And like, we're not near it. The dog's not near it. And we tried to be so logical. Well, this, it could have been the vibrations of us walking, but the shelf itself is, just sitting up there. So then, shortly after that, I'm off of work, and it's a Saturday, and Carrie's sleeping in, and I'm just in the bedroom upstairs watching TV. We have a routine, so when Zach went to work, I went downstairs, fixed coffee. I let our labs out, and I go upstairs, get back in bed, watch TV. And then when you come into our house, as soon as you go into our front door and you go up the flight of steps, our bedroom is on the left. So I always keep my bedroom door shut. We've just always done that. So I hear right up beside those steps. And you know how a teenager sounds going up and down the steps. They're loud. And so I was like, oh, cool. Carrie's awake. So I text her and I'm like, "Hey, do you need anything? Anything like that, and she doesn't answer. She doesn't even open the text message. So I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to be logical, and I'm like, okay, well, the dogs are outside, and we have a deck with stairs that lead down to the yard, but that's on the opposite side. This was right outside my bedroom door. And I'm like, I am shook, because I, for real, am a chicken. I'm trying to be so much better being in this spooky world. But at that time, I was not. So I'm not going outside of this bedroom door. I'm going to live here forever. And so then you hear pacing in the hallway. And we have creaky floors because we had teenagers. And I'm like, you can clearly hear footsteps walking just up and down our hallway upstairs. And there's nothing upstairs. I mean, it's all the 4 bedrooms are upstairs. And so then I'm like, okay. At this point, my anxiety is through the roof. My heart is racing. My mouth is dry. And I'm never leaving my bedroom ever again. And I hear at the door, I don't know what it was, but it sounded like something took their fingernail at the middle part of the door and drug it all the way to the bottom. And at this point, I'm like, I'm a Christian, and so I'm laying there and I have the blanket pulled up like all the way up to my chin, and I'm just like, in the name of Jesus, go away. And I just repeat that over and over again. And like, it's strange. I mean, it's not strange, but it's the heaviness in the air just kind of goes away. And shortly after that, Carrie had gotten up and she knocked on the door. But I'm telling you guys, I was afraid to say, come in, because I don't want to invite something in if I don't know what it is. So, but she cracked the door and peeked in. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you're allowed. So that's where it started. That's where it started.
And this started about the same time your husband had this encounter outside.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, now do me a favor, run down your husband's encounter for me one more time.
Okay.
Real quick.
So he's in the backyard and he's doing
Right.
yard work, and he stops, takes his headphones out to fix the wire on the weed eater or the line, and he hears something in front of him. When he looks up, he has that second encounter, and it gruffs at him and then runs off and just disappears. And that's
Okay,
when
so he never saw anything.
he caught like a second glance of it. He said the only thing he could really say that he saw was like it was super tall and it was super dark and it was super fast.
Okay. Something we've been with, because we've noticed that whether it be these supernatural phenomena being attracted to these physical creatures or other way or vice versa, we don't know yet. And that's kind of the premise we were looking at as far as what we were running through out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
But here lately, I kind of took a left turn because it hit me. What is it that has been talked about for literally thousands of years that does everything that you just talked about?
Mm-hmm.
There's a name for those, and they're called the Fae.
Yes, and
I think, and like I said, it's just a thought. I can't even call it a theory or anything. But these phenomena that we're calling a whole lot of different things now are exactly what people used to say about the Fae. The voices, the little pitter-patter footsteps, the knocking, the scratching, everything. So in my mind, it's very possible that you could have that around your place. Not necessarily Bigfoot.
Right.
And not necessarily just ghost.
Right. And first off, let me tell Aniela, thank you so much. That makes me feel good. But there is a tree on our property, and we have pine trees everywhere. But there is this one tree. It is my absolute favorite tree, and it sits right at the entrance to our driveway. And it has these little vines that hang off of it, and it just reminds me of a fairy tree. And I feel some sort of way with that tree. And I don't feel that way with any, and I'm not saying that, I feel things that I'm not like that, but there's something about that tree. It is just something about that tree. And I don't know what it is. And then you said the Fae, and I'm just like, because I've always had a fascination with the Fae. I probably shouldn't, but it's interesting, right?
It is interesting. And there, if you look back through history, even what we were talking about, the 411, if you look back in history and you look at the tales of the Fae, what was happening? The same thing that's going on.
Right.
So,
and I've never put those two together. I was thinking, okay, well, this is Sasquatch, just based off of the things that we had going on with the rock in front of our house. And then he said, and then so then we start dealing with all the paranormal stuff. So I'm thinking, well, this is separate from everything.
Right.
So, but we've had more So that time scared me. Okay, a lot of times what we experience, it's not negative.
Right.
So there's nothing malevolent about it. The only thing, like, we'll smell cigarette smoke, or we'll smell a really, I can't say grandma perfume because I'm a grandma, but it's one of the older, just muskier
Right.
old lady smells. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like every perfume back in the day smelled like roses.
Yes.
It all smells like ginate.
So we had that smell and the cigarettes. And, I'm a giraffe fanatic as well. So I have giraffes all over this house. But they would be positioned in different positions. And I'm OCD. So I know if something's turned my giraffe, I know it. So yeah, but that stuff is fine. That stuff I'm good with. But I was laying in bed. So we had that in the first encounter that scared the hell out of me. And then I'm laying in bed one night and I have my headphones on because I have insomnia and I try to listen to things that help me sleep. And so over our bed, we have a picture of a married couple and it says something really sweet. But something tapped on that because it's wooden. Something tapped on it 3 times. And I thought it was my spatial audio. So I couldn't, with my spatial audio, I couldn't replicate that sound in my headphones. And my headphones aren't up loud. I'm trying to go to sleep. And it's some sleep app on my phone. But anyways, I couldn't replicate it with what I was listening to. And so I went to sleep. I think that was another night. I went to sleep and I woke up and I was like choking. I don't know if I inhaled something, but I was just coughing and coughing. And so I accidentally woke my husband up and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to go to the bathroom." So then I lay back down and I'm laying on my back and I have my hands across my stomach. And it feels like something is holding the crook of my elbows. It is the only place on my body that is hot. And it is like hot. But it felt like it was just trying to purposefully hold me down. And that, I don't play with that. Like, absolutely not. And that is an incident too that I was like, in Jesus' name I pray, go away. And again, I kept praying and then I fell asleep. So I'm assuming whatever, that was, when I did that went away. But that was, let me do the cigarette smell or the perfume smell or move my giraffes, but don't touch me. Don't
Right.
touch me.
Well, personally, I would do a cleansing if you haven't already.
No, we haven't. Because I'm afraid, because it had been asked us before, have we had anybody come in here? No, because I don't want to make them mad. Because there's only been 2 incidents out of, however many of the benevolent kind that hasn't been threatening,
Right.
as opposed to, the malevolent. And let me get your opinion too. And Wayne, I'm sure he's gonna see this and he's gonna laugh. But when our grandchildren come over here, they are fascinated with the upstairs of our house.
Mm-hmm.
They always want to be up here. And so we have 4 grandsons, so 1.5, 2, and then almost 4, and then we have a 6-month-old grandson. But our 2-year-old grandson came down the stairs one day. He was here and was talking about Starman. And I was like, Starman doesn't live here. And so then they had come over a couple days later and I was fixing everybody dinner and I was in the kitchen and he came down to me when I was at the stove and he was like, "Nana, where is Starman?" And I was like, "Starman doesn't live here. He doesn't live here." And so then you hear the stories of, okay, well, Starman is Bigfoot and then Bigfoot is this, I don't know, because ever since Wayne and I talked about Starman, we have heard the synchronicities of it. I mean, it's just crazy. We've heard so many things with the Starman.
I I was really quickly before I forget. I've heard things about Starman being perhaps evil, right? And I'm not talking
Mhm.
about Starman from an alien or an ET. But I have to ask you. You have mentioned a couple times being a woman of faith, and
Mhm.
okay. I believe in God and the things of that nature, right? Believe in God. I don't go to church. That's just me.
Mhm.
But I got to say this: when it comes to the paranormal, and I always talk to our partners on their show, Brandy and Krista, that I'm really scared of the paranormal in the sense that I believe in God, therefore I believe in the devil, therefore I know and think demons exist. And for me to have like you said that you'd rather have perhaps the Bigfoot encounter versus the paranormal, is that because you know for a fact from your belief system that yeah, demons are out there? I mean,
Yes.
I freak out when I see the Exorcist movies or read and study it.
I cannot watch that movie. I watched it one time when I was a kid, and I've been traumatized my whole life. I can't. I can't. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm in the
yeah,
same boat as you.
yeah. Demons are 100% real, and I think a lot of what is experienced is from the demonic realm. And I was telling Tex before the show last night. Going back to the whole I have insomnia thing, I sit down last night in the kitchen at 1:30 in the morning and I eat my cereal and I watch Discovery Plus, and I was watching because baby steps into the spooky. I'm trying to be so much better, but I'm eating my cereal and I'm watching the show on Discovery Plus, and they're at this house where these people have died and it's just tragic, and they're trying to not really summon, I guess, just to, talk into the SB7 or mess with the REM pod or, something. And so I'm sitting there, and our kitchen table faces this big kitchen window, and we live on a mountain, it's dark. But that doesn't bother me. But I see out of the corner of my eye it's a face, and like I'm not gonna cry. Like, it scared me so bad. I didn't eat. I didn't finish eating, and I was like scared stupid, because if I get really scared, I'm like completely just ignorant. So I took my bowl of cereal as quickly as I could, and I poured it into the trash, and I like tossed it into the sink. I had my flashlight on the whole way because I'm turning all these lights off behind me, and I go upstairs and I shut my door and I get in the bed, and I'm like, nope, not until it's daylight. But I'm telling you, the fear that was in me last night or early this morning was terrible. And it was worse than, I mean, this space, it was like right here. And then when I whip my head around, it's not there. But I know what I saw. I know what I saw.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I was done. I was done. And I don't think I even went to sleep until I think it was around 2:30 when I went to sleep. But I had to watch cartoons. I was like watching Henry Danger because that's my favorite show on Nickelodeon. But yeah, it was bad.
I think, and I've run into this a lot. You're torn because you want to have these encounters, but you don't want to have these encounters. You want to have
Yeah,
certain kinds of encounters, but you don't want to have these others.
no, and see, and that's the thing that stinks because you can't cherry pick your encounters, right?
Right, right.
So it's like, and that's what I'm trying to do is like, I'm trying to walk myself slowly into this progression here. Because, we have a gentleman, spoiler, we have a gentleman coming on our show October 17th, and he is local to me, and he is a paranormal investigator. And so the 16th of October, he's doing all of these events at the different libraries in our area. And so my youngest daughter and I were going to go to one of his events, and then he'll be on the show the next day. But I'm trying to, because if you're in this field, you cannot be afraid. Do you understand? Like, it doesn't make any sense for you to be in this field and be afraid.
Right.
So I'm really trying to open myself up, but at the same time, I still have this little girl going, "What the hell are you doing? This is not cool." So I'm
Well,
trying that.
well, I think you said something very key there, and you need to be careful that you're trying to open yourself up.
Right.
Because going back to what you said, you can't cherry pick your encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open yourself up, or when you're wanting to be more open,
Mm-hmm.
you don't just open the door for one thing.
Right. You open the door for
Okay.
everything.
Right.
Mhm.
So you need to be very, very careful on the, walking that fence that you're walking.
Mm-hmm.
You, I think you need to talk to somebody more knowledgeable than I am.
Yeah.
And this guy that you're having on the show may very well be the person that you need to talk to because he is local to you.
Yes.
Tell him what's going on, tell him how you feel and everything.
Mhm.
And he may very well suggest that you cleanse the house. You can't worry about making something mad.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and
You have
really,
to take the authority. You have to take your house back.
Yeah.
I
You have
do
to take
agree
your
with
life back.
I agree with that too, Tex. And also, it's a good point by Nikki. And when she says wannabes, I don't think she means like you're a wannabe. I don't think she means it that way. But I think that the people that search for encounters, that do research, not that you want to have this fabulous encounter, but when we're talking about the supernatural, the demonic, I think that she makes a point that they feed on your fear, right?
Right.
If you show weakness in any of these malevolent encounters, I should say, they feed on your fear and they will get you, right?
Right.
Versus saying, hey, in the name of Jesus, get the hell out of here and show no fear. But that's hard. That's easier said than done, though, right? I know I
Yeah.
can't. It's hard for me.
Yeah. So it's
I
almost
just
like
I
I was
just
just
want you to be careful and the somebody said something in chat that I was just fixing to say. Um, you're a Christian faith.
Mhm.
Use that.
Yeah.
You have been to a certain extent, but I think you need to ramp it up.
Right.
You know,
Thanks.
it's like I keep going back. It's a hard line to walk.
Yeah.
You're either going to be all in and prepare yourself for the negative stuff that you're going to run into when you open yourself up, or you need to pump the brakes a little bit and get more knowledgeable about what you're dealing with and how to deal with it before you open yourself up to anything.
Yeah.
Right. And as far as the knowledge goes, because I've never, and I don't dabble. I don't do Ouija boards. I don't,
Right.
Yep.
I don't do
Right.
any of that. No, sir. So, but it's just being more familiar, I guess, because the guests that we have on our show have experienced or they go out paranormal investigations and, speak with these spirits / demons. I guess it's just to be more knowledgeable in what it is that they're experiencing, just so we can kind of have that, because when you have a guest show, you want to know something about what it is that they're talking about or out there doing. So I'm just trying to like amp my knowledge up, but I don't invite anything in. Nothing is allowed in. Nothing is allowed to touch me. Nothing is allowed to use me. Nothing. So, I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at.
I got you there. And really quickly, too, what wannabes, just to clarify, Nikki obviously wasn't saying we're wannabes. Wannabes are wannabe demons who have not gotten to their level of true demon yet. So basically, they're out there searching for prey, weak
Mhm.
people that they can get the fear factor out of.
Right.
That's
Well,
lack of a
and
better word.
and one of the main things that people have to realize, paranormal 101, I've said this 1,000 times. Paranormal 101 is spirits or demons or whatever you want to call them are going to lie to you
Right.
to get their foot in the door, you know, even to the extent of appearing to as something that you would be interested in. Bigfoot, okay, whatever, to get that foot in the door. Because once you get the mindset of, oh, this is kind of a cool encounter, I'd like to see this again. There you go.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and my husband and I have talked about this as well. Is Satan will wrap everything up in a pretty package.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you open the box, you're done. So I'm trying to not open any boxes whatsoever. It's just one of those things. And knock on wood, we haven't had anything really crazy here recently.
Right.
No cigarette smell, no perfume. It's just been last night that was. And I instantly cut off what I was watching, and I was like, never mind, I'm just kidding.
Well, and the thing about it is, when you said you saw a face, that's a form of manifestation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a big, because this thing, whatever it is, attempting to communicate with you, mess with you, whatever you want to call it, for some reason feels comfortable in your house. And I think the first thing you need to do, as far as I'm concerned, is assert your authority in the name of Jesus Christ, because in my mind, nothing else is going to have that kind of power.
Exactly. Amen. 100%.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And and also, and I wasn't joking when I said that. It's like, because this subject for me is kind of, it still creeps me. I'm not going to show fear to anything, but one thing you also have to be aware of that I found out many years ago: be careful what or whom you also bring into your house.
Right.
I'm not getting into that story. I brought some stuff into my house when I was when I was married that, I had to get rid of, and I'll leave it at that. It's a story for another time, because most of the people have heard it. But and even certain people, let's say remember back in the day, I don't know if they did it, but they had these big parties. You graduated from high school, let's say, and you had 50 people, over 100 people in your backyard. You didn't know half of them, because I've been to a few of those.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you just don't know what you're opening your houses up to. And we think like this because we're all out of the box and we're into the paranormal, we're into cryptids. The average Joe on the street who does not care about any of these subjects, they are experiencing these wild things or these demonic things, is because they don't even have a clue where to go or look, which is kind of why we have these shows to talk through them all, right?
Right. Yeah, well, I can tell you that I do not go thrifting anymore for, like pictures or anything, because I don't know the origin of that piece that I find that looks really awesome on the shelf at Goodwill.
Yeah. Well, long story short, this is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Antique shops, thrift shops.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson.
I don't do that anymore. So,
well, we're coming up towards the end of the show, Tiffany. It's been a fabulous show. Where can we find you? I know you've got a bunch of things you'd like to promote, so I'll give you next 4 or 5 minutes to go ahead and do that if you like.
Okay, well, definitely come see Wayne and I at Paranormal Odyssey. Subscribe to our channel, and we also have a membership. It is $1.99 a month, less than a tank of, or less than less than a gallon of gas. So it's just $1.99. You get tons of perks with that. So come over there, subscribe to our channel, and check out the membership. My 2 cryptid books Dogman Terror in the Woods and The Unfamiliars will probably be released next year at some time. When I talked to Alex, he said it was usually about 18 months. So, and then if you want to get away from the cryptid or the paranormal, I do have a couple romance books that are on Amazon, Desires of the Heart. And then, like I said, the sequel to that, Forbidden Desires, comes out in November 4th. So you can find me lots of places with my writing.
That's awesome. And if you want to send me the links to your books that are currently out, I can put them in the description of this show for anybody that might want to go ahead and pick up a copy. I'll do that for you. Just send me the link over and I'll just put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I appreciate that for sure. And I just thank y'all for having me on. And just to let you know, this is the very first live I've ever been on, just me.
Oh, well, you did fantastic.
Yeah, you did awesome.
You did awesome. This is a great show. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Tex,
I just subscribed, by the way. So there you go.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I got to remember stuff. Cool behind the scenes. You know,
behind the scenes, yes.
Yes, y'all could come talk to me and Wayne, just members.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Tex, what do you got going on, man? I know you wanted to say a little something really quickly.
Well, I mean, I am going to be at the Jefferson conference. I'm not speaking. I'm just going to be there.
All right.
I don't even think we're going to be there as a vendor. But I am going to be there. So, you know, if y'all going to be around in Jefferson, Texas in October, look me up. You know,
yeah,
I'm not hard to find. I'm speaking at the Fouke Monster Conference in April.
Okay.
In Fouke, Arkansas.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
And let's see what else we got going. Well, of course, we're in the middle of an investigation.
Yes.
We're dealing with some schedule changes and stuff personally, as far as work goes and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to see some changes. You're going to see more of me coming up in come October. So I can get back in the swing of things. And hopefully I'll get this schedule will let me be on more shows and stuff like that, like Paranormal Odyssey. We talked about that. So
yeah. And, absolutely.
And Tiffany, I'd love to have you and Wayne on my show as well.
Awesome. We would love to come.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Anella and Pancho for your awesome super chats for the show. Don't forget to subscribe to Paranormal Odyssey, Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Hey, and I see C Duke in the chat. I've got a great show Thursday. Jessica Jones, Thursday, 1 in the afternoon. We are remote viewing Dogman Island, which is I have 2 videos out on that, which are probably my 2 most popular, and it's also in my book. Jessica, it's been remote viewed, and we're going to provide what Jessica came up this Thursday at 1. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, my book, Bigfoot Mystery Represents True Cryptid Encounters. You can find that on Amazon. I thank everybody for coming on in, giving out the super chats, buying the book. It is really, really appreciated. And again, I look forward to seeing Tex get on some more shows because you got those midnight hours, man. You can't do a lot on midnights. I get it.
I'm also, by the way, I'm also speaking at, and this is a little different. I'm also speaking on the 30th of this month in Fort Worth, Texas, at the Urban Con.
Urban X, yeah.
Urban X Con. It's urban exploration, and I'm a guest speaker there. So
I'm actually promoting that for you on my Facebook group too. Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Yeah, I got your picture all over the place on that, and in fact, I'll do it again tomorrow. With that being said, for Tex, for Tiffany, thanks to everybody for coming on in. Until next time, for Tex and Tiffany, BMR, and we're out.